We begin in Hong Kong tonight, where at least 22 people have been injured after massive protests erupted into violence. Clashes broke out as demonstrators tried to storm the Legislative Council building this afternoon. Mobs charged through barricades, throwing rocks, umbrellas and other hard objects at armed police. Now, officers in riot gear first fired pepper spray to push the crowds back, but then resorted to using tear gas, rubber bullets and smoke bombs. Officers managed to clear sections of two major highways that were being blocked, but defiant protesters have refused to leave and rearmed themselves with masks, goggles and carrying umbrellas. Hong Kong's Police Commissioner Stephen Loh defended the use of force. He said the situation escalated and declared the clashes a riot.
防線受到咁嚴厲嘅衝擊，我哋喺迫不得已之下，唯有使用武器去阻止呢啲暴徒去衝擊我哋嘅防線。而家已經係一個騷亂嘅情況，我呼籲市民唔好進入金鐘一帶。我喺度亦都想嚴厲譴責呢啲暴徒不負責任嘅行為。 因為佢哋如果係表達意見嘅話，係唔需要傷害其他人，包括我嘅同事同埋一啲無辜嘅人士。
A number of protesters were injured in the chaos. Police warned mobs to stop and retreat, saying that force will be used. But one demonstrator said the force took action without warning.
好，啱先我喺警察嘅前方，咁啱先警察前邊係冇任何示威者有任何阻隔嘅，有示威者將啲鐵馬搬去同警察阻隔，希望建立防線。但警察喺冇舉黑旗情況之下開始開槍，一槍擊中兩位右眼，咁而家流緊血，我亦都唔知自己是咩槍嚟嘅，知唔知啊？唔知道，應該係啲唔係用金屬做嘅彈嚟，應該橡膠彈我估計，因為我而家唔係話真係入晒去，咁但係而家係完全睇唔到嘢嘅。OK， 唔該晒你啊。係。
Earlier this evening, Hong Kong's Chief Executive Carrie Lam responded to the mass demonstrations during an exclusive interview with local broadcaster TVB. Mrs. Lam broke down in tears as she said she's made personal sacrifices for the city and insisted that she hasn't sold out Hong Kong.
She expressed concern to see so many young people taking part in the demonstrations, but insisted that the bill will not be shelved. Our correspondent Lynette Lim has been following developments in Admiralty this afternoon. She joins us live from outside Queensway. Lynette, earlier today we heard you were in the middle of the clashes. Could you tell us a bit more about what happened?
Yes, John, we were parked right at the High Court where we had a good vantage point of Queensway right down below us, which is one of the arterial roads that have been blockaded by the protesters. This is also the main road where a lot of protesters would swarm to and flee when tear gas was being fired outside the Legislative Council complex. And we were right here when there were tear gas that was being fired. I counted probably at least 8 shots within a 1.5 hour time period. And you know, the effects of it were quite immediate. You feel the stinging in your eye, you smell it in your nose, and many of these protesters on the streets, they were much less properly equipped than us. We had goggles and masks, but they only had surgical masks. And yet, you know, a lot of them, you know, they will continue walking with tears on streaming down their cheeks, continuing in spite of some of their injuries. So they're really tired and thirsty, but they're not cowed. And in fact, it's the police actions that have made them even more defiant. It's the police actions as well as the fact that the administration so far has not come up with a satisfactory response to their demands.
Lynette, you know, we've heard that several businesses have vowed to shut today. About 100 said that they would do so last night online. Did you observe any closed shops today?
When we were out here at Admiralty, we did see several banks were closed, including Singapore's DBS Bank, the UK's Standard Chartered Bank, and China's ICBC Bank. DBS, for example, had a sign saying that they were closed as a safety precaution. However, most of the shops still stayed open. Food, especially convenience stores and food and retail businesses were doing a roaring trade, selling things to the protesters. However, the small businesses that have declared closure were really doing it in support of the strikes. They are mostly small F&B businesses scattered around, not really existing in the Admiralty area where the rents are much higher. We've also heard online reports of MNCs, multinational companies, allowing flexi time for their employees to give them time off to go and protest. But of course, all this is really done on a very unofficial, hush-hush basis, for fear of recrimination from Beijing. It's slightly past 8 now, and we're also getting unverified reports that the police will commence large-scale clearing operations. Hospitals have reportedly been tipped to prepare to receive the injured, but we've not seen anything yet, apart from pockets of commotion, apart from pockets of unrest that come up every now and then. Earlier, people were singing and chanting. They were chanting actually Hong Kong Yang Ga Yao, which is Hong Kong people, go Hong Kong or go Hong Kongers, and that's really a term that's been coming up a lot in these protests. And I just learned today that it's also a term that got banned on the Chinese social media platform Weibo today.
All right, thanks for that, Lynette Lim. She's speaking to us from outside Queensway, and joining us from outside Lechco is our correspondent, Roland Lim. So, Roland, the police have been forcing protesters off the main highway since early this evening. We know that's been happening. What is the situation right now?
Yeah, it's been a day of confrontations, and it's still ongoing as the police cleared Harcourt Road. That's the main artery that connects Central to Wan Chai to the rest of Hong Kong. That happened around 6:30. The tens of thousands of protesters have been spread far and wide across the surrounding areas since then. We are hearing that some of them have managed to overtake in central Hong Kong, where the landmark is. They put traffic to a standstill there. I'm actually at Queensway, another angle, which you can see Queensway is also blocked by the protesters at this point in time. There's also reports that protesters have also set up tents for equipment as well as supplies at Statue Garden, which is next to the central subway station as we speak. So while the police have not set a curfew at this stage for the general public, but the clearance operation is ongoing, and it could probably take all night to disperse the crowds that we're seeing here behind me.
Roland, we heard from Lynette earlier who said that hospitals have been put on standby. What is your sense about the situation and how we sort of go from here throughout the rest of the night?
Well, the police has a full force of some 30,000. The protesters at the beginning of this protest outnumbered them. It remains to be seen if they will be steadfast in their attempts to actually try to pressure the government to overturn the introduction of this bill in Parliament at this stage. What has happened this time around, which hasn't happened before, apart from pepper spray, tear gas, rubber bullets, but also beanbags bullets were used for the very first time. Now, this was not even used during the Mong Kok riots of 2016. But at the same time, the police commissioner has justified the force that's been used by the police, saying that the protesters themselves had broken the police lines, and therefore their use of force was justified, as well as the protection of the officers themselves. But the people who have felt the brunt of these shots say that the full force is unwarranted, and that the police at this point in time have been pretty heavy-handed in dealing with protesters, which is a far cry from the Occupy movement of 2014.
All right, thanks for that update, Roland. We were speaking there with Roland Lim as well as Lynette Lim in Hong Kong.